Isn't it weird how TV can make people feel immortal? You can flip on the TV right now and see a show from 30 years ago, and the actors look exactly the same, forever young and funny. But in the real world, life goes on, and sometimes it ends far too soon. These are the 20 sitcom actors you didn't know passed away. 1. John Ritter. If you grew up in the 70s or 80s, you knew John Ritter as the king of physical comedy. As Jack Tripper on Three's Company, he was a master of the hilarious misunderstanding, the clumsy fall, and the perfectly timed double take. He could make you cry with laughter just by tripping over a sofa. After Three's Company, Ritter worked constantly, but in 2002 he found another huge hit with the sitcom 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter. He played Paul Hennessy, a caring but overwhelmed dad, and it felt like the perfect role for him. The show was a success, and it seemed like Ritter was back on top. But then, the unthinkable happened. On September 11, 2003, while rehearsing on the set of the show, Ritter began feeling ill. He began feeling seriously sick and complained of chest pains. He was rushed to the hospital, where he tragically passed away later that night. The cause was a tear in a major artery in his chest that had been misdiagnosed as a heart attack. He was just 54 years old. His death was a massive shock to Hollywood and to his millions of fans. The show, 8 Simple Rules, bravely continued, writing his character's death into the storyline and dealing with the family's grief in a way that was both heartbreaking and beautiful. The next actor was a true genius, whose incredible voice work and sketch comedy skills were lost in a way no one could have imagined. 2. Phil Hartman. You might know his face, but you definitely know his voice. Phil Hartman was often called the man of 1,000 voices, and for good reason. He was the secret weapon of Saturday Night Live in the late 80s and early 90s, creating unforgettable characters like the unfrozen caveman lawyer and a hilariously over-the-top Bill Clinton. After leaving SNL, he voiced some of the most iconic characters on The Simpsons, including the sleazy lawyer Lionel Hutz and the washed-up actor Troy McClure. You might remember him from such films as, well, you get the joke. He then landed a starring role on the brilliant sitcom News Radio, playing the vain and insecure news anchor Bill McNeil. Hartman was a comedic genius, respected and loved by everyone he worked with. His life, however, came to a shocking and tragic end. In the early morning hours of May 28, 1998, the incident involved his wife, Bryn Omdahl, who was struggling with substance abuse. After the event, she drove to a friend's house and confessed what had happened. She then returned to their home, and as police were arriving to ensure the safety of their 2 children, she ended her own life. The news was devastating. The world had lost not just a brilliant comedian at the age of 49, but a kind and generous man in the most senseless way possible. Next, we'll talk about the patriarch of one of TV's most beloved families, a man whose booming voice was a source of comfort and authority for a whole generation. 3. James Avery. For a whole generation, his voice was the sound of authority, warmth, and the occasional, "Will, get in here!" James Avery wasn't just an actor. He was Uncle Phil on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He was the heart of the Banks family, the perfect balance to Will's wild antics. What made him so great was that underneath that stern, powerful judge was a giant teddy bear who loved his family more than anything. From teaching Will about responsibility to that gut-wrenching scene where he hugs Will after his biological father leaves again, Avery brought a level of gravity and heart that made the show more than just a comedy. Before he was Uncle Phil, Avery was a classically trained actor and a veteran of the Vietnam War. He also did a ton of voice work, most famously as the voice of Shredder in the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon. But his role as Philip Banks is the one that made him a father figure to millions. Many fans who grew up with the show might not realize that Avery passed away on New Year's Eve in 2013 at the age of 68. He had undergone open-heart surgery and died from complications. The outpouring of love from his castmates, especially Will Smith, proved that the family we saw on screen was just as real off-screen. But for our next actor, his sitcom role as a tough but lovable boyfriend was a high point before a tragic downward spiral that many fans never saw coming. 4. Glenn Quinn. If you watched Roseanne in the 90s, you definitely remember Mark Healy. He was Becky Connor's rebellious, leather jacket-wearing boyfriend, and later, her husband. He was tough on the outside, but underneath he was a sweet guy who truly loved Becky and eventually became part of the Connor family. The actor who played him was Glenn Quinn, a handsome Irish actor with a natural charm. After Roseanne ended, he landed a main role on the Buffy the Vampire Slayer spin-off, Angel, playing a half-demon named Doyle. Quinn was a rising star with a lot of potential. He had the looks and the talent for a long career, but behind the scenes he was fighting a serious battle. Quinn struggled with severe substance abuse for years, a problem that reportedly led to him being written off of Angel. Despite attempts to get clean, his addiction continued. On December 3, 2002, Quinn was found to have passed away. The cause was determined to be an accidental overdose, a tragic end to his long struggle with addiction. He was only 32 years old. His death was a quiet tragedy, a sad end for a familiar face from one of the biggest sitcoms of all time. Quinn's struggles were largely private until the tragic end. But our next actor created a character so iconic and over-the-top, he strutted his way into television history, and his real-life personality was just as unique and fascinating. 5. Sherman Hemsley. We're moving on up! With just those few words, a TV legend was born. Sherman Hemsley played George Jefferson, the loud, proud, and hilariously prejudiced owner of a chain of dry cleaning stores on the Jeffersons. He was the ultimate rags-to-riches story, a character who never missed a chance to remind people how successful he was or to slam a door in his neighbor's face. George was short-tempered, arrogant, and constantly scheming, but thanks to Hemsley's comedic timing, you couldn't help but love him. The show was a groundbreaking spin-off of All in the Family and ran for an incredible 11 seasons. What many people don't know is that Hemsley was the complete opposite of George. He was a shy, quiet, and deeply private man who loved progressive rock music. He was also a veteran of the Air Force. After the Jeffersons, he found sitcom success again playing Deacon Fry on the show Amen. Hemsley passed away in July 2012 at his home in El Paso, Texas, from a complication of lung cancer at the age of 74. His death was followed by a strange legal battle over his estate that delayed his burial for months, a bizarre final chapter for a man who brought so much laughter to the world. George Jefferson was known for his big, booming personality. His on-screen wife, Wheezy, was his perfect match. But another iconic sitcom wife was known for her quiet sweetness and ditzy charm, and she was the heart of one of the most important shows ever made. 6. Jean Stapleton. As Edith Bunker on All in the Family, Jean Stapleton created one of the most beloved and unforgettable characters in television history. Edith was the long-suffering wife of the bigoted Archie Bunker. With her high-pitched voice and her tendency to stifle herself, she could have been a one-note joke. But Stapleton infused Edith with so much warmth, innocence, and hidden strength that she became the moral center of the show. She was the soul of the Bunker family, the one who could calm Archie down and see the good in everyone. For her incredible work, she won 3 Emmy Awards. Stapleton was a highly intelligent and talented actress, a world away from the dingbat character she played so perfectly. She had a long career in theater before and after the show. She chose to leave All in the Family in 1980 because she felt she had explored every aspect of Edith's character. The show dealt with her departure by having Edith die off-screen from a stroke, leading to some of the most powerful and heartbreaking episodes in sitcom history. Stapleton herself lived a long and full life, passing away in 2013 from natural causes at the age of 90. She left behind a legacy as an actress who could make you laugh and cry in the same breath. Stapleton played a wife from the 70s, but our next actress became famous playing a very different kind of matriarch, the meddling, hilariously passive-aggressive mother from a 90s sitcom that everyone seemed to watch. 7. Doris Roberts. Holy crap! If you watch TV in the 90s and 2000s, you know exactly who said that. As Marie Barone on Everybody Loves Raymond, Doris Roberts wasn't just a TV mom. She was the TV mom. She was nosy, judgmental, and could turn guilt into an art form. Whether she was criticizing Deborah's cooking, rearranging their furniture, or wrapping their fruit in plastic, Marie did it all out of love. Roberts played the part so perfectly that she won 4 Emmy Awards for the role. She made a character who could have been a monster into someone you somehow understood and even loved. Roberts had a career that spanned over 60 years. Before Raymond, she was a well-respected actress on Broadway and had a regular role on the detective show Remington Steele. But Marie Barone was the role of a lifetime, and she became one of the most recognizable faces on television. She was also a tireless advocate for animals and a spokesperson against age discrimination in Hollywood. Roberts passed away peacefully in her sleep in April 2016 at the age of 90. Her death felt like losing a member of your own family, especially for the millions who spent 9 seasons laughing at her antics. Doris Roberts was the ultimate sitcom mom. But every great sitcom family needs a cool, wisecracking sidekick. Our next actress played one of the funniest and most memorable cool aunts in TV history, a woman who always had a scandalous story and a piece of terrible advice. 8. Katherine Helmond. On Who's the Boss? Tony was the housekeeper. Angela was the boss. But Mona Robinson was the life of the party. Played by the brilliant Katherine Helmond, Mona was Angela's man-crazy, fun-loving mother. She was the complete opposite of her uptight daughter. Mona was bold, flirty, and lived by her own rules. She was the cool grandma, mom who would sneak the kids candy and offer terrible dating advice. Her chemistry with the rest of the cast was electric, and she often stole the show with her hilarious one-liners. Before she was Mona, Helmond was a star on another groundbreaking sitcom, Soap, where she played the ditzy socialite Jessica Tate. She was a versatile actress who could do broad comedy and serious drama. She even voiced Lizzie, the quirky old car in the Disney Pixar Cars movies. Helmond was a beloved figure in the industry, known for her kindness and professionalism. She passed away in February 2019 at the age of 89 from complications of Alzheimer's disease. Her death was a sad reminder of the passing of a golden age of sitcom stars. Helmond played a fun-loving character on a family-friendly show. Our next actress was part of a very different kind of sitcom, one that focused on teenagers, and her real-life story took a turn that was far more tragic than any TV plotline. 9. Lisa Robin Kelly. For fans of that 70s show, Lori Foreman was the ultimate troublemaking older sister. Played by Lisa Robin Kelly, Lori was Eric's beautiful but manipulative sister who loved to torment him and his friends. She was a hilarious character who was always wrapped up in some kind of drama, usually involving a new boyfriend or a scheme to get what she wanted. Kelly was a key part of the show's early success, but then, during the 3rd season, her character suddenly disappeared, explained away as having gone to beauty school. She returned briefly in the 5th season, but was later replaced by another actress. The reason for her departure was her personal struggle with alcoholism. In the years after the show, Kelly's life was marked by a series of legal troubles and arrests, all stemming from her addiction. In interviews, she spoke openly about her battle and her desire to get clean and restart her career. Tragically, in August 2013, just days after checking into a rehab facility, Kelly passed away in her sleep, Her death was later ruled the result of an accidental overdose. She was only 43 years old. It was a heartbreaking end for a talented actress whose real-life struggles overshadowed her comedic gifts. Kelly's story is a tragic tale of a young star lost too soon. Our next actor was also a child star who faced immense struggles after his show ended, becoming the poster child for the dark side of childhood fame. 10. Gary Coleman. "What you talkin' 'bout, Willis?" It's one of the most famous catchphrases in TV history, and it was delivered by a tiny kid with incredible comic timing. Gary Coleman became a global superstar as the adorable, wisecracking Arnold Jackson on the sitcom Different Strokes. The show, about two black kids from Harlem adopted by a wealthy white millionaire, was a massive hit, and Coleman was its biggest star. He was charming, funny, and had a charisma that was off the charts. But Coleman's life was far from a fairy tale. He was born with a kidney disease that stunted his growth, requiring multiple transplants and daily dialysis. He would never grow taller than 4 feet 8 inches. After the show ended, his life was plagued by problems. He famously sued his parents and former manager for mismanaging his earnings, and was left with only a fraction of his fortune. He had numerous legal issues and health scares, and he struggled to find work as an actor, often taking jobs as a security guard to make ends meet. Coleman passed away in May 2010 at the age of 42 after suffering a brain hemorrhage following a fall at his home in Utah. His story is a sad and cautionary tale about the pressures of childhood stardom. Coleman played the adopted son. But what about the man who played his kind and loving TV dad? His story had a much different and much quieter ending. 11. Conrad Bain. Every sitcom kid needs a great sitcom dad, and Arnold and Willis had one of the best. Conrad Bain played Philip Drummond on Different Strokes, the rich, kind-hearted widower who adopts the two boys. Mr. Drummond was the picture of patience and understanding. He was a loving father who preached tolerance and family values, a calm and stable center in a household full of comedic chaos. Bain played the role with a gentle warmth that made him one of America's favorite TV dads. Unlike his young co-stars, Bain was a veteran actor who had a long and successful career before Different Strokes. He had a notable role as Dr. Arthur Harmon on the 70s sitcom Maude. He was born in Canada, and even had an identical twin brother who was also an actor. After his hit show ended, Bain largely retired from acting to enjoy a quiet life with his family. He passed away in January 2013 from natural causes, just a month before his 90th birthday. While the lives of his TV kids were often troubled, Conrad Bain lived a long, peaceful, and successful life. Bain played a kind-hearted patriarch, but our next actress became a star by playing a fiercely independent woman who broke the mold and became a feminist icon of 70s television. 12. Valerie Harper. In the 1970s, the Mary Tyler Moore Show was revolutionary, and one of its breakout stars was Valerie Harper as Rhoda Morgenstern. Rhoda was Mary's upstairs neighbor and best friend. She was sharp, funny, insecure, and unapologetically Jewish. She was the perfect wisecracking sidekick, and audiences loved her so much that she got her own spin-off show, Rhoda. The show was a massive hit, and the episode where her character got married was one of the most watched television events of the decade. Harper won 4 Emmy Awards for playing Rhoda, a character who represented a new kind of modern woman on TV. After her time as Rhoda, she starred in another sitcom called Valerie, which was later retitled The Hogan Family after a contract dispute. In 2013, Harper shared some devastating news with the world. She had been diagnosed with a rare and terminal form of brain cancer and was told she had only months to live. But Harper was a fighter. She defied all odds and continued to live, work, and inspire people with her positive attitude for another 6 years. She passed away in August 2019 at the age of 80, leaving behind a legacy as a true television pioneer. Harper's character was a style icon in her own right, But our next actor played a character whose journey from a supporting player to a fashion-forward partner was one of the best parts of a beloved 80s sitcom. 13. Meshach Taylor. When Designing Women first started, the character of Anthony Bouvier was just supposed to be a deliveryman with a few funny lines. But the actor who played him, Meshach Taylor, had such incredible charisma and comedic chemistry with the four leading ladies that his role just kept getting bigger. Anthony went from being the ex-con delivery guy to a full-fledged partner in the Sugarbaker's design firm. Taylor brought a smooth, funny, and sophisticated energy to the show, and he more than held his own against the powerhouse cast of Dixie Carter, Delta Burke, Annie Potts, and Jean Smart. Taylor was nominated for an Emmy for his role as Anthony, the character that made him a household name. After Designing Women, he co-starred in another successful sitcom, Dave's World, with Harry Anderson. He was a constant presence on television, known for his sharp suits, bright smile, and impeccable comedic timing. Sadly, Taylor was diagnosed with colorectal cancer, and he passed away in June 2014 at the age of 67, surrounded by his family. His death was a loss for the comedy world, and for the fans who watched his character grow into one of the most beloved figures on 80s TV. Taylor was part of a legendary ensemble cast. Our next two actors were supporting players on what is arguably the most successful sitcom of all time, playing two of the most memorable TV parents ever. 14. Liz Sheridan. How could anyone not like him? That was the eternal question posed by Helen Seinfeld, Jerry's adoring mother on Seinfeld. Played by veteran actress Liz Sheridan, Helen was the quintessential Florida retiree mom. She was fiercely proud of her boy and could never understand why anyone would have a problem with him. Her scenes with Barney Martin, who played her husband Morty, were comedy gold. Whether they were arguing about the Cadillac, the price of a meal, or how to get to the airport, the Seinfeld parents were hilariously, relatably real. What many fans don't know is that Liz Sheridan had a fascinating life long before Seinfeld. In the 1950s, she was a dancer in New York City and had a romantic relationship with a then-unknown young actor named James Dean. She even wrote a book about it called Dizzy, Jimmy. Sheridan worked for decades in film and television before landing the role that would make her famous to a whole new generation. She passed away in her sleep from natural causes in April 2022, just 5 days after her 93rd birthday. Her death came only 2 weeks after the passing of her on-screen rival. That's right. Helen's death was preceded by the loss of another Seinfeld parent, a man who also starred as one of the most hilariously angry TV dads on another massive hit show. 15. Jerry Stiller. Serenity Now. Before he was the lovably bizarre Arthur Spooner on The King of Queens, Jerry Stiller was the creator of Festivus and the source of so much of George Costanza's pain as Frank Costanza on Seinfeld. Frank was a man who did everything at top volume. He was loud, cheap, from the bro or the mancier to his fear of stopping short. Frank Costanza was an unforgettable character, and Stiller's performance earned him an Emmy nomination. Of course, Jerry Stiller was comedy royalty long before these roles. He and his wife, Ann Mira, were a famous comedy duo, Stiller and Mira. He was also the father of 2 famous actors, Ben and Amy Stiller. He had a career that spanned 7 decades, and he brought laughter to multiple generations of fans. Stiller passed away in May 2020 from natural causes at the age of 92. The world lost a true comedy giant, a man who could make you laugh until you cried with just a single angry yell. Stiller was half of a legendary TV couple on Seinfeld, and our next actor was part of an equally iconic and equally hilarious TV marriage on another blockbuster sitcom. 16. Peter Boyle. While Doris Roberts' Marie Barone was the master of passive-aggressive guilt on Everybody Loves Raymond, her husband Frank was a ticking time bomb of cynical commentary. Peter Boyle played Frank Barone, the grumpy, lazy, and brutally honest patriarch of the family. He never wore pants if he could help it. He was constantly making rude and inappropriate comments, Boyle's deadpan delivery and perfect chemistry with Doris Roberts made Frank one of the funniest characters on television. But before he was Frank Barone, Peter Boyle was a serious, acclaimed actor. His most famous movie role was playing the monster in Mel Brooks' comedy classic Young Frankenstein. He also played the intense political operative in the movie The Candidate and the tough cab driver, Wizard, in Taxi Driver. He had an incredible range, but it was the role of Frank Barone that brought him late-in-life sitcom stardom. Boyle passed away in December 2006 at the age of 71 after a battle with multiple myeloma and heart disease. He left behind a legacy as both a gifted dramatic actor and a sitcom legend. Boyle was famous for playing a monster in a classic movie comedy. Our next actor is known to an entire generation for playing a very different kind of monster, a cruel, abusive uncle in a magical world. 17. Richard Griffiths. To millions of kids and adults around the world, he was the face of pure, non-magical evil. Richard Griffiths was unforgettable as Uncle Vernon Dursley in the Harry Potter films. He was the loud, blustering, and abusive uncle who hated anything to do with magic and made Harry's life miserable. Griffiths played the part with such brilliant, infuriating perfection that you couldn't help but despise him. What many Harry Potter fans in the US might not know is that Griffiths was one of the most respected stage and screen actors in the United Kingdom. He was a beloved figure, known for his incredible talent and his kind, jovial-natured complete opposite of the character that made him globally famous. He starred in many British sitcoms and TV shows, including the cult classic film Withnail Eye. He was also a celebrated stage actor, winning a Tony Award for his role in the play The History Boys. Griffiths passed away in March 2013 at the age of 65 from complications following heart surgery, leaving the acting world to mourn a true gentle giant. Griffiths played an unforgettable guardian. Our next actor played a bumbling but lovable sidekick on one of the most iconic fantasy sitcoms of all time. 18. Bill Daly. If you were a fan of classic 60s TV, you know the name Major Roger Healy. On I Dream of Jeannie, Bill Daly played the best friend and colleague of Major Anthony Nelson. Roger was the goofy, girl-crazy sidekick who was constantly trying to figure out how to use Jeannie's magic for his own personal gain, usually with disastrous and hilarious results. Daly's talent for physical comedy and his warm, bumbling persona made him the perfect comic foil to Larry Hagman's straight man character. After Jeannie, Daly found sitcom success again on The Bob Newhart Show in the 70s. He played Howard Borden, the eccentric airline navigator who lived next door and was constantly barging in to borrow things or offer unsolicited advice. Daly was a master of playing the lovable goofball, a friendly face that audiences welcomed into their homes for decades. He lived a long life, largely out of the spotlight in his later years, and passed away in September 2018 in Santa Fe, New Mexico, at the age of 91. Daly was a star from the golden age of sitcoms. Our next actress was a familiar face on two popular black sitcoms from the 90s, playing the funny best friend everyone wished they had. 19. Yvette Wilson. On the 90s sitcom Moesha, Andell Wilkerson was the owner of The Den, the local hangout for Moesha and her friends. Andell was a cool, funny, and supportive adult figure in their lives, always ready with a witty comeback or some solid advice. The actress who brought her to life was Yvette Wilson. With her warm smile and fantastic comedic timing, Wilson was a standout on the show. She was so popular that she carried her character over to the spin-off series, The Parkers, where she continued to be a fan favorite. Wilson was a talented stand-up comedian before she got into acting, and she brought that natural humor to her roles. She was a welcome presence on television throughout the 90s and early 2000s, but she faced a serious health battle in her later years. Wilson was diagnosed with stage 4 cervical cancer and also suffered from kidney disease, requiring a kidney transplant. She fought her illness bravely, but sadly, she passed away in June 2012 at the tragically young age of 48. Wilson's passing at such a young age was a shock. Our final actor is another face that many will recognize, especially from modern Disney Channel shows and a famous series of beer commercials, whose life was also cut unexpectedly short. 20. Wendell D. Middlebrooks. You might not know his name, but you almost certainly know his face and his booming voice. Wendell D. Middlebrooks was best known to a huge audience as the hilarious, over-the-top Miller High Life delivery guy. In a series of popular commercials, he was the guy who would show up and take away fancy, overpriced beers from people, declaring that High Life was the only beer they needed. His catchphrase, "It's Miller time," delivered with a mix of authority and fun, made him a pop culture icon. But he was much more than a commercial star. Middlebrooks was a talented actor, with a recurring role on the Disney Channel hit The Sweet Life on Deck, where he played Kirby Morris, the ship's bumbling security guard. He also had a main role on the ABC medical drama Body of Proof. He was a big guy, with an even bigger personality, and he was building a solid career as a go-to character actor. Tragically, in March 2015, Middlebrooks was found unconscious at his home. It was later revealed he had suffered a fatal pulmonary embolism, which is a type of blood clot. He was only 36 years old. His sudden death was a shock to his fans and co-stars, a sad end for a rising talent who was just getting started.